What's up, guys? Now, a couple weeks ago I made a video talking about the 5 worst things about the E90, E92 platform BMWs, 5 things that I hated the most. So now it's about time that I made the other side of that video, talk about the 5 best things about the E90 generation BMWs, the 5 things that I love, and the 5 things that make these cars as great as they've come to know to be. Let's check it out. Now, to give you a little bit of background on this car specifically, the background that I'm going to be coming from, a little bit of context, this is a 2013 E92 335i. So this has the N55 engine instead of the N54 that came in the earlier 335i's, and it's a 2013, so it's a very late build LCI model E92. So let's get into it. The first best thing about this platform BMW, E92 in particular, because I'm biased, is the looks. I think these E92s and the E90s as well look incredibly good, especially considering their age. When you get into the early E90s, E92s, you could be talking about a car from 2007 and it still looks great. This car has aged incredibly well. Particularly, again, I'm biased for the coupes. I think the coupes look awesome, especially if you do a little bit of couple mods here and there to keep them updated and looking fresh. These cars look so good and they've aged so well. Now, particularly with my car, because it's a later build, it's an LCI, it has the updated body panels, updated lights, and it's also an M Sport car, so it has more aggressive bumpers, side skirts, stuff like that. Particularly in this car, it's aged extremely well, and like I drive it around and people think that this car is much newer than it is. It's worth way more money than it is, and I mean it's a great feeling to have your car admired by other people, especially as a car guy, because the car's important to you, and it's nice to see that noticed by other people as well. And I don't mean to make it sound like you should be thinking about wanting to look like you have an expensive car or anything like that, because that's not the perspective that I come from with it. But the fact that other people notice the car and appreciate the car and think that it looks good, I take a lot of pride in that. And for me personally, I of course love the way the car looks, and it still makes me look back every time I get out of the car and lock it and I'm walking away. I'm still always looking over my shoulder, taking a peek at my car. Number 2 best thing about the E90, E92 BMWs, they can truly do it all. They're truly an all-around car for a car enthusiast. They're something that you can use and drive every day comfortably. They're practical in many ways, and at the same time they offer an incredible performance side. There's a whole slew of options, from the base 328s, the mid-tier 335 that I'm in, and then up to the E92 M3 with its awesome screaming V8, high revving. It's an incredible car. And even the M3 version of that car, it's something that BMW's really mastered. You can really take their cars, for the most part, wherever you want. They're going to perform perfectly well. They're going to be able to do the everyday duties, and while you're driving it, you're going to have a great time, because they're great driver's car, and they provide that perfect balance of just everyday practicality, as well as giving you a really great enthusiast driving experience. Number 3, and this is kind of a 2-for-1. They're both related to the steering. Number 1, the steering wheel itself, and number 2, the steering feel, the hydraulic rack that you get in the E90. So for the steering wheel specifically, because this is an M Sport car, it comes with the M Sport steering wheel, and it's this really nice perforated leather on the sides. It has these kind of indents where you hold your hands. It's a little bit thicker and traditional BMW M style. It's a really great feeling wheel. When I have other people hop in the car and take it for a drive, it's one of the first things that they notice. They're like, oh wow, this steering wheel feels great. It really kind of makes you want to drive with 2 hands, just because it feels good in your hands, and it feels good while you're driving. One of my favorite parts about the car. And then more specifically with the steering feel, these E90s are the last BMWs, or the last 3 series I should say, to come with a hydraulic rack. And in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinions, the steering on the E93 series, E92, E93, the whole group, the steering on these cars is the best steering that BMW ever offered in terms of feel and feedback. You know exactly what the front wheels of the car are doing. When you go over bumps and stuff like that, you can feel the bumps through the wheel. You can feel the changes in pitch of the road. There's a ton of great driver-focused feedback that car enthusiasts love and enjoy, and it's something that you're just not really getting with the newer cars that have the electronic racks. A lot of times people say that they feel really numb, they're not communicative, they're not giving a good feedback to the driver. You don't always know what the front wheels are doing. The steering feel in this car is so good. I really enjoy it. It's the perfect weight. It's just all around a great experience, and it's exactly what you want out of a sporty focused car. Fourth best thing about the E90, E92 BMWs, there is an incredible aftermarket for these cars. Particularly when you're talking about the 335i's like this one. It depends whether you have the early ones with the N54 or the N55, but in both cases it remains true that there is a huge aftermarket for these cars. Whether you want to talk about cosmetic parts, change up the look of the car, you want to talk about performance, I mean, it's no secret that particularly the N54 335i's, it is no secret that you can make tons and tons of power very, very easily with that engine and that car, and the car handles the power pretty well. The chassis is able to handle it, and there's the aftermarket to support it. Whatever parts you want to get, it's available. Performance, cosmetic, the whole deal for the whole lineup, even outside of the 335i's. The M3s, there's a ton of stuff you can get for them, and even the base 328s. There is a ton of stuff, and for a car enthusiast who wants to tinker with their car, like we all want to like get into the garage and change some things up. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's an F80 M3 up ahead. So again, up and down the whole line, every model of this generation BMW, whatever you want to do, it's only a purchase away. Really, it's very, very cool to have so many options, so many different things that you can do with the car through aftermarket companies to really personalize it and make the car your own, because not every car has that following, has enough of an enthusiast following, have enough people who really love the car and love the platform that it's worth it for companies to then come and make aftermarket parts for them and make options for people to tinker with the cars. But this car, man, you can do anything you want with it. I've very much enjoyed tinkering with the car, adjusting certain things, making certain things look better, perform better. It's been a great experience so far, and really it could never end. Like I have so many new other plans for this car, so many other things that I'm gonna end up changing and tinkering with, and that's what somebody who loves cars really wants to see, is just the availability of that stuff, so they can really play with it. So the fifth and final thing that I'm going to talk about is something that I've talked a little bit about in some of my other videos, and it's really that, in my opinion, the E90 generation BMWs, it's really the end of an era for BMW. It's the end of their old methodology that started with like the E30 BMWs of having a smaller, driver-focused, performance-focused car that can really, again, like, can do it all. It has the performance side, but it also can be driven every day, and you kind of lose a lot of that pureness, a lot of the analog stuff of the older BMWs, a lot of the driver focus, and you're not getting so much of that with the newer cars. Now, I'm not saying that the new BMWs are bad cars. They're not. They're great cars. BMW still sells a ton of cars, so they're doing something right, but they're not really appealing to the enthusiast enthusiasts anymore. They're appealing more towards the mass markets, the people, the general population that purchases their cars. And from a business standpoint, yeah, that makes sense. You can't blame them, because those are the people that are spending the money. That's the majority of their audience. Those are the people that are really boosting up their sales and giving the business side profitability. But it's unfortunate to see in certain ways how BMW's turned away from the enthusiasts that have given their brand such a good reputation and given their brand such a hardcore following over the years, because the newer cars just don't cater to that. There's so many electronics in the new BMWs that you're just not as connected with the car as you once used to be. I understand that in a lot of ways those electronics can make the car better, but to a real enthusiast, you're losing some of that feedback and some of that interaction that you really get from the older cars. You're kind of removed from the car, whereas with the older ones you can really feel it, and someone who's really into driving can really feel like the car's an extension of them versus just controlling something. So specifically, you could talk about, as we talked about earlier, the steering. The newer electronic racks, they just don't give you enough feedback. They don't feel as good as this hydraulic rack and all the feedback that you get from this. Another thing would be the size. The new 3 Series, they've just continued to get bigger and bigger. And in my opinion, this E90 Generation 3 Series is the last appropriately sized car. The older one, the newer ones rather, are too big, they're too heavy, and they're not what you would really want to take to go throw them around like a curvy back road and enjoy that and enjoy a great drive in a car that's tossable. Now, to BMW's credit, they still do offer most of their cars, most of the new 3 Series, they do still come with a option for a manual transmission, which is great. I'm really glad that they do that, but I don't think that's going to last much longer. If you want to row your own gears, you're kind of at a turning point where sooner rather than later you're not going to have that option anymore. Man, even on the snow tires that I have on right now, I'm just cruising through this back road, and this car is so good. It's so tight, it's so tossable, it's the perfect size for me. The steering is there. It's such a great experience, and from the newer BMWs that I've driven, it's just not something that I'm getting. So that about summarizes my thoughts. That covers the couple of things that I wanted to go over, the big things that stick out in my mind that I love about this car, because I really do. At the end of the day, this car I always wanted this car for a number of years before I actually got it, and when I did get it, it was pretty much, you know, they say never meet your heroes, and not to say like this is my dream car, but for a while this was my realistic dream car. And when I finally got it, it was pretty much exactly what I thought it would be. It's exactly what I wanted it to be at this stage in my life for what I need this car to do. And I really, really enjoy driving it every day. And I really enjoy most things about it. But wanted to share my thoughts, some of the best things about this car. If you have one of these, let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite parts are, what you love so much about it. I really would recommend that everybody who is a car enthusiast drive one of these cars at some point. If you love it, which I think you will for a number of reasons, get one. I mean, it's really been a joy owning this car, and I would recommend it to most people, as long as you're gonna keep up with the maintenance and hopefully do some of the work yourself, because it's not the cheapest car to keep on the road. So I'm gonna end it there for today. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my Sunday evening cruise, just kind of enjoying some back roads in the E92. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe for more videos coming soon on this platform, and we'll see you next time. Peace.